Oh, Brent, it's so good seeing your beautiful face, dude.
I don't see his, I mean, I just see a picture
Well,
of his face.
well, it's a still just smile of Brent, which is just soothing in itself. There it is.
Yes. How disappointing, because the picture's way better than what you got right here.
All right.
Yay!
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you?
Really good. Good to be on the call. Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to hang out with everybody.
Oh,
Yes, this is going to be a good one. We're excited to introduce you to Jessica and then to the rest of the crew too, So
yeah, and Jess is going to be with us in Tampa, so you guys are going to get to meet in person.
Nice. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
We got them popping in here. Hey guys.
Oh, Sharon,
Hey,
it's
Jason.
so good to see Sharon.
Aw.
Latanya,
Latanya, hi.
Latanya, yes.
There's Jason. Hey Sharon, how are you? Hey, what's up, girl?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a minute.
It has.
Awesome. I'm glad you could be here.
Me
Jason,
too.
Jason's on here now too. Who's 805?
Who is 805?
Who is that? Show yourself.
Show yourself, 805. Where is
Do
he?
you want me to Google that number for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna Google you.
No hiding.
No,
Southern California, it's somebody in Cali, or at least has a Cali number. Oh, that's awesome.
That's good. Well, yeah, we're just gonna let give people a second here to get on, and then we are super excited to have you guys here tonight and introduce you to Jess and Jessica. Jess, what do you want people to call you? You want people to call you Jess, Jessica, Jessa? I
I
mean,
prefer Jessa.
Jessa.
Professionally, I do go by Jessica Almond.
uh-oh.
I was
here
very
comes
professional.
trouble. We got trouble. We got trouble coming in.
Oh, Michelle.
We got trouble coming
And Mark
in. And Mark
Swanson.
I mean, it is trouble.
Oh, Amy's
Michelle,
crushing it.
put your video on, Michelle.
We want to see faces.
I need to see your
There
face.
she is.
Hey, there she is.
Hey, Michelle.
Look at you, girl.
Oh, there's Anthony right there. He's been crushing it too. That dude's early in his career. Oh, Mark.
Handsome guy.
Dude, and our picture just came up from when he transformed, and we took a picture at the gym together, and he was flexing all over.
I wasn't done yet. I was
making good progress. You were getting close. Yep.
He's still doing
so
good.
Good to see you, man.
I love it. Hey, Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's everyone else?
Good.
Very good.
Good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. We'll give them like 1 or 2 more minutes here. The people are still popping in. Who else we got? Latanya, how are you? Unmute yourself and say hi.
I'm good. How are you? I'm trying to get my camera. Let me see. I haven't seen you guys in a couple
There
years.
you are.
Hi.
There you are.
Hey, oh, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Got all your gear on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where
Still
are
working.
you?
Still working. I'm in Virginia at Fort Gregg Adams, what used to be Fort Lee.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the last time we talked, I was in San Antonio at Fort Sam Houston.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. I'm so good to see your face.
Good to see you both.
Good to see
Oh,
you.
that's awesome. Good. I'm glad you are here.
Man, we got a good group.
I know. I love it. Very cool. We got Amy. Amy, can you say hi?
Where is Amy?
Hey, okay, I don't have my video on because I'm actually driving.
Oh yeah, don't do
that's
that.
okay.
Two hands on the wheel.
Both hands on the
Yeah,
wheel.
absolutely. So I'm not quite where I had planned to be when the meeting started. So good to see y'all though.
No problem.
I'm glad you're here.
We are glad that you're here. All right, we'll get things cranking, and then I'm just gonna keep an eye as we're chatting, and I'll let more people in as they come along. But welcome to the 3rd edition of Turn Your Pain to Purpose. Number three.
Number three.
We are super excited to have a really special guest tonight. Micah wanted to just kind of get us started off with sharing a little story, and then we're going to introduce her and we're going to get this thing rolling.
So some of you guys know a little bit of my story. I'm going to be sharing my full story for the first time at the conference, something that about 6 years ago God had called me to do. It's been a very difficult, challenging thing. To any of you guys that have gone through trauma, I've been really looking forward to this episode of this workshop because of how impacting that has been on my life, of going through decades of overcoming a lot of challenges, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, and now looking, what we do in our own life to see and try to help heal and transform people the way that we have done for multiple decades. And so the people that we come across, we all go through some level of challenge. We all go through some level of setback or pain, storm in our lives. And sometimes we carry that for so long. And I was one of those people. So from the age of birth to the age of 18, I moved 30 times. It was me and my mom, 3 different elementary schools, 2 junior highs, 2 high schools. All I knew was instability. And at the same time, I'm struggling with this, like, wanting to have a father figure, which a lot of young boys and a lot of young girls also struggle with, and how that really impacted a lot of the choices that I made as I was going through, my life. And as we're navigating through this craziness of what I thought reality was, there were a couple pivotal people in my life that came in and were able to be that family for me at times where I really felt like I had no hope at all. And it was like the darkest of times, and how God kind of just came in and like positioned these individuals into my life to help pivot my life in a deeper way. And then the last couple decades of getting through that part, the last couple decades have been really about just going back and healing and becoming, making a better relationship with that child of my former self, of being and going in and going through the healing process of what that looks like. When we go through the worst of the worst and the pain of the pain, you have to, as an adult, it can be so difficult because we're just taught almost like, we can toughen it out, especially men, like, and a lot of women too. We can toughen it out, we can get through it, but it starts resurfacing in relationships, or some people go through addictions, pornography or alcohol or drugs or whatever that may be. Those were not options for me, but I was at this place at like 16, 17 years old where I was like, I had no hope. And I was like, I will never go kill myself. But at the same time, if I die, I die, and that's not living. But I had no way of like going, how do I get through this? And and so at the conference, I'm going to share in detail what I went through, but also the steps of how I actually accomplished that, and then got to the point to actually get on stage and then share such a vulnerable period of time in my life, with the whole purpose of knowing that my next chapter in life is to help a tremendous amount of people, but in a very different way.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it's a really powerful process that Micah's gone through, and it's kind of one of the main reasons that we're doing the Lean and Level Up conference, and it's one of the main reasons that we're doing this little series of how to turning your pain to purpose. Like, he's really the story that he's ready to share is really one of a lot of pain and a lot of abuse and trauma that a lot of people that have gone through those type of things, they would turn to they might take their own life. They might turn to drug addiction. They might turn to alcoholism, pornography. All those would have been paths that if Micah had chosen them, it would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. But he chose a different path because he chose to lean in, and he chose to use the tools that are the tools that we're talking about tonight. And he chose to level up his life and use his life for God's greater purposes instead of going that other path. So it's that's kind of the foundation of where all of this came from. And it's why we're really, really excited to have our special guest tonight to talk about these, our what we're calling our 3 keys, our 3 breakthrough strategies, that for those of you who have been on the other calls with us, you know kind of what those 3 are. And then those of you who haven't, we're going to go over them and get Jessa's point of view on them. But just a little background on Jessa. She, oh goodness, what year did we start?
June 2019.
June 2019. So she came to me at HitchFit in June of 2019 and wanted to go on a transformation journey, a physical transformation journey. And we worked together for, I mean, a long
4
time.
years.
A long journey, but it was amazing just to see her dig in to that hot spot. That was a hot spot for her, that was a pain point of that leaning in and digging into the physical fitness piece. And I saw her grow and change in so many ways and achieve her fitness goals and change lifestyle habits. And it was, I mean, such a cool thing to be. She's part of our Hitch Fit family for life, and is a very good friend of mine. And you know, she's a professional counselor, she's a psychoanalyst, which benefited me as well. I'm like, okay, now I got something to talk to you about.
Talk about dreams.
yeah. Oh, and dream analysis. That was always fun. She owns a business based here in Kansas City called Fortitude Counseling. She's just a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, just a resource that I go to, you know, whenever I'm like, whenever I need my mind to get in a good place and have help. I trust her, and Micah and I both trust her opinion and her wisdom. And so we're so grateful for her to share her time and her expertise with us here tonight. So I know we've got our things off, but give it up for Jessica Almond. Hey. So Jess, do you want to could you give a little, that was my intro of you. If you want to just add a little to that or whatever you have to share to introduce yourself. And
Yes. Well, thanks for the introduction. And thank you, Micah. Like, I think there's so much power in owning our stories, writing them out, as I know you've been in the process for a couple of years, being able to process that internally, and then the power of sharing it. And so I'm amazed at all that you've put into it, and look forward to you sharing more of your story. So as Diana said, I'm a professional counselor and psychoanalyst. You might be wondering, what does that mean? And so to tell you a little bit of how I work and how I think, because it'll tie into the questions I answer and how I'm looking at things. And so as a psychoanalyst and practicing psychoanalytic psychotherapy, I look at what's going at the conscious level, what's going on subconscious, and what's going unconscious. And so with that, consciously, you guys have thoughts on your mind right now. There's things that are passing through your mind and what has just been said. The subconscious level would be like me asking, what did you have for breakfast? You probably weren't thinking about that 2 seconds ago, but you're thinking about that now. And so my question prompted something that was like close to the surface, but it wasn't at the surface yet until my question prompted that. You might have been thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. It's around dinner time, but you weren't probably thinking what you had for breakfast. Another question would be asking, where were you on 9/11? Well, you definitely weren't thinking about that 2 seconds ago. That was a trauma that happened collectively here in the United States. It also happened through the world, had its impact and ripple effect. And so I just brought up your subconscious, what was going on. Unconsciously, deeper things that were going on within for 9/11 was like scarcity, annihilation, attacks, mobility. All of those things were at a deeper level. For me, when 9/11 hit, the first thing I did was get gas. And it was out of a scarcity, unconscious piece for me that I'm not going to be able to get where I need to get to. and I need to be able to have gas to get to where I need to. And I ended up paying almost $3 for gas when gas was only $1, a little over $1 around that time. And so that's the unconscious. And so I want to lay that foundation to be thinking about as we go through these questions and as I respond to the questions, is that I very much think at this conscious level, subconscious and unconscious, to see what's going on all throughout the levels.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that explanation.
Mhm.
So I just want to jump in real quick because I just want to make sure you have lots of time to cover these. So our first piece, when we're talking about our 3 breakthrough strategies, our first piece that we've been discussing is that it's finding our hot spots, our pain points, our trigger points. And my example each week is when we get a knot in our muscles, and it's a hot spot and it hurts and it's this ball, and the only way to actually release that ball of pain is actually to get into it, to get a massage or get your elbow or get something in, and you actually apply pressure directly into that hot spot, that pain point, and that's how it releases. So that's kind of our first topic of what we need to do if we really want breakthrough is finding those hot spots and figuring out what those pain points are, and instead of just letting them stay there, being willing to stick the thing in there, and so that we can break it up. So when we're talking about things like trauma and abuse, really hard things that are going to be really painful hot spots, how do we deal with those? How do we deal with those? And how do we, some people might even not have pushed them back so far that they don't even know that they're there. So how do we start that conversation and figure that piece out?
There's a lot of factors I think that play in it, but it's a very subjective experience. There's a lot of books out that will give outlines and give ideas. But to really lean in is to look at your own subjective experience. And there's so many factors. One can be of when did it happen? At what age, childhood and adult. There's differences of what's taken in, the impact it has, depending on the age. It can also depend on who the abuser was, how close a relationship were they to you. It can depend on even who else was around. But this is a key piece in research, that if there's people that are around and are supportive and are seeing it and step in and do something or are protective, the likelihood of it not moving to PTSD or severe type of chronic trauma is a better indicator. When there is somebody that sees and doesn't do anything, then that's trauma on top of trauma. Or when they dismiss it or invalidate it, or even say you're lying, it didn't really happen, or I can't believe that, oh, that person wouldn't ever do that thing. Then you have trauma on top of trauma of what happened originally, and then the invalidation of it all. And so to really look at your own unique experiences, when I have a patient come in, that is what I explore with them, of what happened, who was around, what got internalized through that time. To do it, I follow three pieces. First is, what are their emotions that come up? And so being able to lean into that. What is there, sadness and disappointment and grief and loneliness? Is there shame and guilt? The difference between that is shame is I am bad, and guilt is I've done something bad. And so even being able to tease that apart and how deep that goes. The second one is your body, and of how that plays out and shows up in your body. I'll have patients come in sometimes and they walk in like this, they have no neck, and they're carrying it in their shoulders, and it's really tight, it's really heavy. Some people carry it in their back. Some people carry it in their arms, their biceps. Those are typically the areas we'll see it the most, but it shows up in the body in some way. There's a saying that goes, it's easier to complain about a toothache than it is about a heartache.
Mm.
And so when those feelings aren't caught, then it comes out in the body. Or when the feelings are too out of awareness, for instance, there can be a lot of even stigma, like Micah even said, about like men and feelings and talking about pain and trials and trauma. And so it's like, oh, it's the message of I'm not supposed to feel this. Well, it's got to come out somewhere. And the body is one place it'll come out. The next place that even you two, Micah and Diana, were alluding to is behaviors. It can come out with drinking, substance use. It can come out even of picking up your phone when you're feeling lonely and there's nobody else around, you're feeling uncomfortable in a social situation. It can come about of excessive exercising great, good. Too much of any good thing is a problem that needs to be paid attention to. And so to look at your emotions, to look at your body, and to look at your behaviors, and what is it trying to communicate? That with all behaviors are communication, and emotions are just signals. It's like a check engine light when it comes on. Mine just came on this last week. And so I was like, oh, these are like the emotions. We have to pay attention to it. It's signaling that there's something going on with my car that I need to look into it. If I don't look into it, then it's going to start making noises. Well, that's when it comes out with the body. The body starts making noises. You see it like this. You can feel it in your arms. You can feel it in your back. You get a pain somewhere. And then it'll come out in behaviors. My car will die if I don't look into it and get it figured out. And so I'm being able to really lean into what are those emotions? What is my body trying to tell me? And what are these behaviors? What's hard is somebody with trauma and severe complex trauma is that often the behaviors will be the loudest. The body gets overlooked and the feelings get overlooked. And so I have to work backwards with people of like, let's talk about the behaviors. Let's figure out what's being communicated. How does it show up in the body? And then what are the emotions that are underneath it? And then what are the memories that are connected to all of this? And once we can dig in that, then often the behaviors go away. And I'll even have patients say, oh, I didn't even notice I did this thing until like we started working through this piece of my trauma. And then I noticed it was gone. It was no longer there. And so important to lean in and to pay attention. Those are your trigger points.
Wow.
Always to listen.
Great. Really, really good.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Excellent insight. Let's move on. That was beautiful. Then to the next piece, which is we call it the fear of the fumble, of just the fear of doing something or starting something, which so many people struggle with. They're so afraid of failing if they step into something, if they dig into that hot spot. And so how do we navigate that piece of like, we see something is wrong, whether it's, whether it is in your behaviors, your body, your emotions, like you notice those signals, but you're afraid, whether it is you're afraid of the pain that it's going to bring up, you're afraid of what people are going to think, or, how it's going to impact your life, whatever it is you're afraid of, like, how do we deal with that piece?
As you've talked about like the fear of failure, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that is a saying that we talk about like in the psychoanalytic world, that when it's bigger in the front, it's bigger in the back. And so I listen to what's being said and I listen to what's not being said. And so the bigger in the front is, and this is for some people, sometimes. I won't say this is a blanket statement for everyone, but it is what I can see for some people sometimes. The bigger in the front is I'm scared of fumbling. I'm scared of starting. I'm scared of messing up. I'm scared of failing. And the bigger in the back part of it is I'm scared of succeeding. Because unconsciously, what can often happen with success is there's a fear of judgment. There's a fear of not being accepted. Well, what if I succeed and then where do I belong? Where do I fit in? Who are my people that have been to a degree so far some solidness? What if I outgrow them? That's a huge, huge fear. Outgrowing even parents, or outgrowing siblings. And with trauma, what I can see a lot of the times is there can be almost a survivor's guilt of like, oh, I made it through. My siblings didn't. They're still struggling. They're still having a hard time, or my parents didn't. Or so-and-so that was also part of this horrific trauma that I went through didn't make it through. And so to succeed can feel so conflictual. There's a wanting to have success, but there's also fear of that success in these different ways. Sometimes, and we all know the saying, it can be lonely at the top. And so there can be fear of loneliness and success. There can be fear of separation, of even individuating. And so all of these parts can be unconscious. The same way that I talked about earlier with 9/11 and what was going on as a collective, like trauma unconscious. This can be going on individually, that when people are scared of failing, and even when they're louder and like, I'm going to fail, the question I have to ask is what's bigger in the back? What are they afraid of succeeding? What are they afraid of losing? And what's the that fantasy there that of the cost for them?
So those would be questions you'd say, like, ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you're finding that you're not stepping into it because of fear, which type of fear is it? And like, if you're walking it out, like, what exactly are you afraid of? Then what would be the next step? Like, if they're going to take a step to overcome that fear?
Mm-hmm. What I typically encourage people and being able to like process these questions is to write out. Like I think Micah, fantastic of like you've been able to put your story into words, and there's so much power in to be able to do that either with someone else. I know I had a lot of these conversations with Diana when I was going through the process, and so I had her support, also journaling. And to ask yourself these questions and to allow your mind to just go with no filter and with deep empathy and compassion and curiosity, to take that stance and be bold to write as though nobody else is hearing or going to look at it. And then what I'll tell people is to write as a participant, put it down, and then go back 2 days later and look at it as an observer to get an outside perspective. What are the themes that are here? What are my feelings? What are my longings? What are my needs? Is there something I need to pay attention to? For instance, if it's the fear of like loneliness and survivor's guilt, then maybe it would be able to reflect of who do I need to include in my circle at the top? I need to be more intentional of doing that. So I have belonging and I have connection as I make this step towards success. And then also it's acknowledging, oh, I wish to be able to connect more with my siblings. And this is just an example. What can I be able to do in ways of giving back, either with them or for others, kind of by proxy, if they're not available, or if there needs to be those boundaries and those types of relationships. And so to journal, to do it as a participant and then an observer can give a lot of awareness. And then to include people is another key piece.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So our third piece is choosing your tools wisely. So when we've identified, you know, what our pain point is, when we've gone to the point where we're like, we're ready to step in and overcome those fears, and if we're talking about breakthroughs, is like we need some type of tools for breakthroughs. And you know, Micah's belief is that our faith and fitness are two of our most powerful tools for breakthrough in any aspect of our lives, whether it's our fitness or our faith, our relationships, our businesses, our overcoming of past hurts and personal growth. Faith first, fitness, those are two wrecking ball tools that I think can be applied to really any aspect of our lives. So I want your insight on, if you have additional insight on how faith and fitness can be used for as a breakthrough tool for this, and then if you have any other tools.
I absolutely agree. I think faith and fitness can be at the top. And with faith, and what I notice can be challenging, especially people with trauma, is that they will put something on God because of their trauma. And even so, for instance, say if somebody dealt with a lot of abandonment and neglect growing up, and even though they know scripture that can be holding and grounding, that God is always with me, he will never forsake me, he is always there. They know that intellectually, but internally and emotionally and relationally, it's hard to really grasp that, like, God could be there no matter what. Also, that God was there in the trauma. That is another piece that is something that each person often has to wrestle with. And also the other question is, how could God let that happen to me or to someone else? And so those can be the stumbling blocks that I would encourage to lean into, to be able to challenge, and then to hold of what you know is true as you work through that conflict of, like, I know this is true, but it doesn't feel that way. And that needs to be worked through to where therapy can be really helpful, and to be able to see, and building relationships and community, to be like, oh, there's people that will be here for me when I need them. And if people can do this, then I know God can do this. And so then that shifts from a knowledge insight to like a heartfelt knowing, and way of just a peace and a settlement beyond. And so faith important, and those can be the stumbling blocks with it for trauma. Fitness, I think, is hugely important, especially for people with trauma. That there's been a lot of research about repetitiveness can be very soothing. And so, like, listening to the same song over and over. For me, I can turn on the same song when I work out, and I listen to it, and it is grounding and soothing. Also, something I've been really into the last 6 months is walking. And there's another repetitive that is soothing for the brain and is soothing for the body. It also allows all of that, maybe like anger or resentment or grief, to get out. That exercise fitness can provide those pieces. I'm sure many of you, I know I have at least had a handful of experiences where I'm working out and afterwards I just want to cry, or I break down crying. And typically for me, I've noticed the pattern is when I do upper body, especially biceps and shoulders, because that's where I carry my stress at. And so doing that exercise afterwards, it's intense, it's emotional, and I just let myself to be in it. And so the big pieces, I would say faith, fitness, therapy. I'm biased. I think everybody can benefit from therapy. And thankfully, over the last 10, 20 years, the stigma around mental health is changing. and we still have a long ways to go. Even for instance, as Diana mentioned earlier, I do professional counseling. I meet with people once a week. I also meet with people in psychoanalysis. And what that means is meeting 3 to 5 times a week, doing deep work for years and years, anywhere from 3 years to 10 years. And the first response is like, oh, am I that bad? Like, am I that sick? Well, when I recommend analysis for someone, because the stigma is still there. It's still there. And honestly, for people that I see in analysis, they're individuals, yes, that are stuck or maybe dealing with some anxiety or depression or trauma, but they're individuals that really want to understand themselves more, of who they are, how they work, how they tick, and then how they are in relationships, like the patterns that keep playing out in their life, to discover, oh, what's my part in this? What am I doing that I don't even know, that I think is helpful, but it's actually not. It can be me sabotaging myself. And so to get into therapy is an opportunity to know yourself and to know how you are in a relationship that I think we could all benefit from.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. And I think, when I met you, I didn't know about psychoanalysis either. And I was like, whoa, like that is intense. That's a lot. But also the willingness to do that level of work, when you know that you need to do that level of work, like that's like life changing and completely game changing.
It's an investment in oneself that it's also like shifting, I think, culturally, instead of viewing like therapy as a medical emergency, or viewing therapy as like it's a latte, I can take it or leave it. Here is really being able to invest.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And, you and I have talked about it a lot, of just like, we really are in this time of there are more people now that need mental health help than I think maybe ever before. We've seen it in our world, especially coming out of the COVID season, that whole time, like we saw just mental distress like we've never seen it. And that was from one-on-one clients, online clients, just it's rampant. And I know you see it a lot is in kids too, like the mental health crisis in the kids is rampant. So it's just such an important conversation of just using, like you said, let's make it part of the regular conversation. Yeah, I'm getting therapy, and it should just be like, I'm doing my workout,
I work out 3 to 5 times a week. I go to therapy once a week or twice a week even.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And just making it normal, because it's so needed. And I think there's people that I think it's for sure less than, so I feel like we're on the right track, but just making it even more normal, of just like, like this is a piece of my health. It's a big piece of my health. And so, yeah, we really appreciate all of that. Just really excellent insight. And hold on, you guys, I'm going to open it up here for Q&A. So, and takeaways. So if you guys can just be thinking of some questions, I'm going to just open that up in just a minute. But Jessica's going to be with us at the Lean and Level Up conference in January in Tampa. She's coming out there to be basically our mental health support system, for we're going into deep topics at this conference. Like, we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to have a lot of laughter, and we're going to have a lot of connection, but we are also going to have a lot of like, hey, let's actually go in and do the deeper work. And one of the things that we were talking about is just, it's kind of like we're asking people to come to this conference and be with us. And it's kind of like, jumping off the high dive. And it's like, I remember when I was a kid and I would go to the high dive and I was terrified. Like, I was like, I don't want to jump in that water. Like, that's like really far down. And I was afraid it's going to hurt. I was afraid it was gonna hurt when I hit the water. I was afraid I was gonna be exposed. I was afraid like my top's gonna come up and something's gonna come out. And it was terrifying. I'm not kidding. I was like terrified. I didn't want to do it. But I went up there and I remember having my friends were there down there and they were cheering and they're like, you can do it, you can do it, you can jump, you can jump. And so, I took the big breath and I did it. And it hurt a little bit, but it didn't hurt as bad as I thought it was gonna hurt. And I was exposed, my top came up, but I pulled it back down, before anybody saw anything. But when I came back up out of that water and all my friends were right there and they were cheering and like so ecstatic. And it was like this situation where I wouldn't have jumped if I didn't have that community of support around me. If they weren't encouraging me and saying like, Diana, you can do it, like jump. And then when I did it, even though it did hurt and it was uncomfortable, I did it. And then I wasn't afraid of it anymore. And then when I came up out of the water, they were all cheering and they're supporting me. And so it's kind of like, I know that's what we're asking people to do when we're saying to lean into things and to jump in and take the high dive and just do it. But knowing that we are building a community of people that are there cheering for you to take that jump and that are going to be there after you take that jump to cheer for you and support you and give you the help that you need. So Jessa is going to be part of that support system and the cheering system of jump. And then I got you when you get out of the water.
I'll be in the water with you.
You'll be in the water. Yeah. So, so that being said, we just want to give you guys the invitation. I know a bunch of you are already planning on coming to the conference, but for those, we have a little special bonus. I'm going to do my share screen. I got it figured out this week, barely. But barely. So for those who are on the workshops with us, we have a special coupon code for you. It's PURPOSE, PURPOSE. It'll give you $150 off of tickets for the Lean and Level Up conference of any level. There's general admission, VIP seating, and then the VIP experience ticket. There's something really special that's going to be happening at this conference. I can't even tell you the amazing cool things that have happened just within the last 24 hours. Well, I'll tell you the snapshot. Randy, Scott, Donald, top right,
then
Marcus,
one over, Marcus,
and Scott Donnell, who's down this guy. So anyway, they're all at Tony Robbins. They didn't know each other. Long story short, Scott Donnell was sharing with Tony on Tony's stage about his app. Marcus is there in Tony's group. Like the three of them had dinner together and didn't even know that they were all coming to Tampa and speaking at the conference together. I'm not kidding. I can't make this stuff up. I'm like, God, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? Yesterday I'm totally freaking out because Marcus is like, Scott's amazing. And I'm like, what are you doing with Scott? Like, what's happening? And then I'm texting Randy and he's like, we had dinner together. He's going to be a speaker in Tampa too. And I'm like, what? What? Like, you guys, so I don't know what's going to actually happen at this conference because God is just doing some big moves and we're just like, I really don't even know what's going on here. But, so there's that. And we hope you guys will join us there and you can use that coupon code and just get it locked in. We're like 50 days out. So, please be a part of that. Come and join us. So,
first, I have to celebrate. We have one of our other speakers here, Brent Strom, that we actually met at an event. And what's crazy about Brent is like we didn't get to spend a lot of time with him at this event. Like a very short amount of time. He was our coach for like a very, very hot minute. But I was just like, we left and I was like, man, I really like that dude. Like a lot. Like I felt his spirit, I felt his light and just his happiness, his infectious smile. And, I fall in love with people that are that way. I just do. I'm very attracted to that. And so long story short, I'm like, man, I wake up, I'm like, I gotta reach out to this guy. Like, I don't even know if he'll say yes or whatever. I said, but we gotta, like, and so, yeah, anyway, he said yes, thankfully.
Well, unmute yourself so you can say hi, Brent. But he said that and I was like, okay, we have to, because I literally was thinking of him too.
Yeah, you were.
So anyway, can you say hi real quick?
Well, of course, it was an easy yes. Are you kidding? Yeah, we were together just for a short time, and there were probably 5 other people that were part of that group, and they just kept dissolving into the background. And I was just focused on you too, because I thought, I don't know what's inside them, but I like it, and I want more of that. And then I realized it was the Spirit of God, so it was good stuff, right? It was just filled to overflowing, and people want to be around that. And so it's not surprising that those 2 guys somehow got connected and such. God's really good at doing miracles and things like that. And so I just, I'm excited about January. I have it up on my calendar and I keep looking at that date and I keep praying about it. And to have someone like Jessica, I mean, I can speak for everybody that we all have people in our life that need more help than we can give them. I can encourage and I can give some direction and I can give affirmation, but I have really close friends of mine and such that need a little bit more. And if Jessica lived in my hometown, I would go crazy, because all my friends would go, I could meet with someone like her. And you have an incredible inviting spirit and a beautiful spirit, Jessica. So someone like you needs to be speaking as often as they can, because I think for people out there that are in the weeds that are wondering, do I dare take a step into this unknown and actually unveil what's happening on my inside and get it on my outside? If they knew there were people like you, Jessica, that were out there, I just think we'd have more people that would be rushing into those places of healing. And so thank you for being even on a call like this that's recorded and things like that, and then for speaking in other places. But I mean, I took a bunch of notes and I even put a few things in the chat. These are things I don't think about because I just get caught up in my own day-to-day. And so way to go, Diana and Micah, to have on Jessica to be able to speak to, well, myself for sure, but everybody on this call, to draw some things out of us so that we can live and love better. So thank you. This is a terrific night together. What a blessing.
Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and thank you for being here, and all the rest of you guys. Brent is going to be our guest on January 10th. I think you're January 10th. So as you're signing up for the workshops, make sure you get signed up for that one, and we're going to get a full hour of wisdom and insight from him too. And it's gonna be amazing. But yeah, but we're so glad you're here, and just so glad you're in our lives. And it's just I don't even know where everything's going, but I'm super excited about it. And yeah, we're getting Jessa on more stages in the future too. Like that's the direction we're going, because she just has so much in her to share. It's real, I get to spend so much time with her for years. We had, I just make her tell me stuff while she's working out, so she just ignores the pain.
It was a win-win.
So I got a lot out of it. So I just know she has so much in her and so much love, and so much that she wants, just a heart to share it. So yeah, beautiful. Okay, so anybody have either a takeaway, a golden nugget that you have, or do you have a question? If you guys want to do the little hand raise thing, then we can kind of do things in order. If anybody has a little, who's good?
We got Chelsea.
Oh, Shar.
Yep.
Okay, Shar, can you unmute yourself?
There, she's up.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Fabulous. Jessica, this was amazing. My name is Shar. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. My background professionally is trauma ER medicine. And so my question for you is, do you happen to have the notation for the research that you were talking about with respect to repetitive motion and healing of trauma, the different repetitive behaviors? I've got a lot of patients that I see now in a different way. I'm in holistic medicine now, that research would be helpful for me.
Not right off that I'm able to recall. Let me look into it, and I can message Diana with that work, and then she can get that to you. There are a couple books though that I'm sure talk about it. Let me pull those up because I did make note of them. One is The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes, I love that.
That's
I
a
love
great
that.
book, and really important. I could see that even being in there. And then the other one is Anything by Bruce Perry. He just wrote a book with Oprah. What Happened to You? Conversations on Trauma, Resiliency, and Healing. And so those are two, I think, good books, but I will do some searching to see what I can find about the repetitive and the research with that.
Awesome. Thank you, City. My takeaway is the reminder about journaling. I've done that for years. It's how I am alive today because of a bunch of stuff I've walked through, 9/11 being one of them. So just thank you for that reminder to continue on because it does matter.
That's great.
Cool. Thank you, Shar. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Jessica, can you who was the second author? Anthony. Oh, Bruce Perry.
Bruce Perry.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody who else has a takeaway?
I have a takeaway real quick. Something she said, she talked about it for just a second, but I think this is extremely important because as I've researched my own situation, I think she's spot on when it comes to situational and going into every aspect and every layer of what that person went through, the individuals that were involved, everything, like, because it all does matter. There's not one blanket, like eat chicken and broccoli and you're going to get ripped. Like it doesn't work that way with trauma, but there are a lot of things and tools that you can utilize. But one of the most powerful things that she said that I also learned was like how important it is, insanely important it is, that if someone were to share something with you, you need to listen, and the way that you respond to them, if it is something pain or trauma based, is absolutely one of the most important things that you could ever do. Because if you respond in a poor way or throw it off like it's not a big deal, or you don't believe them or whatnot, that person maybe for the rest of their life may never tell anyone ever again. It ends up totally destroying them. And so it's really important that if you ever get into that situation to really open up your heart to them, to listen and to respond in a way that shows your love for them.
And 2 tips within that, I think, are so important, Micah, because that's a lot of stories that I'll hear is they tried telling someone. And so 2 tips within that: if you can't be empathetic or you can't understand it, go to curiosity. And follow their lead within it. Empathy and curiosity will get you a really far, really, really far.
That's good.
That's great.
And then people will feel heard and seen, acknowledged, not dismissed.
That's good. Beautiful. Does anybody else, who else has a takeaway? Michelle, what's your takeaway? I want to hear from you.
Well, I was just trying to purchase my ticket for the thing and the purpose code isn't working.
Oh.
Well, great job, Dee.
I just love that you're purchasing right now. Like, you're
Yeah,
like, yes, this
like,
is it.
no,
We're
I'm
gonna do
doing
it.
I love talking about the hard stuff, and I thought it was so interesting too, just to hear you say like we're getting there, but like we have a lot to do, because I feel like in my circle, like for the most part, we're talking about therapy, but it's still in this like self-deprecating thing. It's like, gotta go see my therapist. It's not like I'm gonna go see my therapist today, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
And I'll touch on that, Michelle. So that's how females think of it. Males, it's like totally like there's no way, dude. You can never tell anyone that you went in and talked to a counselor. So the stigma on that is like so difficult for a man to actually share any sort of emotional state of what he's gone through, because it just looks like weakness. And so it's challenging both ways. And for Jessica, whether she work with her man or female, like she has to almost take a different approach too, with different, block that's in place. But
Yeah.
I encourage it. And something, when I knew I was having to dive back into my trauma, to be completely transparent with you guys, I ended up, I'm in a good place, but I knew that when I brought this up and I was going to go fulfill what I knew God's purpose for me was, I was going to get attacked massively. And so what I've done is I've tried to build this as much strength and armor as humanly possible. And one of those steps was to go get a counselor to speak through as I'm going through this, just sometimes just for someone to talk to that's not in my bubble. You know, Diana gets a lot of that, but she's, you know, like I needed someone outside of that brought in, you know, a different layer of it. And it's been a very therapeutic thing for me personally. So I encourage like males out there, females out there, like if you need help, like, yeah, we can go work out, we can get in prayer, but sometimes it's about going to that specialist that understands that and really digs deep into those pain points.
Yeah. Love it.
I'm fixing it. Hold on.
Okay. I'm gonna come either way. So I'll go.
Well, I literally thought that I fixed it the other day, so I'm just checking it. Okay, who else thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Let me look at this.
Hey, I've got a takeaway I want to share.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Diana, when you were talking about the diving board, I think I thought of my own personal diving experience when it was cliff diving, a very high cliff, right? And the motivation, there were people down below cheering for me. One was my buddy, and the other one was his sister. And I saw that his sister did it. So therefore, if she can do it, I can do it, you know? And that, I think the takeaway here is that you don't see in people talking about success stories of therapy. Like in your practice, you show the before and after pictures, but you don't hear a lot about the before and after. I went to therapy and look how much I've healed. So
that's true.
In her world, she has to protect that. She's under, you know, legal, like
true,
share that stuff. So it's going to have to, I think from a societal standpoint, it's going to have to be individuals that go, man, like this is how I transform through this. Yeah, my body looks better through transformation and eating and what it did for my mind, but going to a therapist broke down all these things. Like people, it's going to have to be our society actually pushing that, because the therapists can't legally do that.
Society and having the conversations of like what Michelle and Micah you're saying, and then also writing too. Bruce Perry has another book. It's a hard read because it's lots of trauma, but it's called The Boy That Was Raised by a Dog, or The Boy That Was Raised as a Dog.
Oof.
And it's intense. It's a hard read. I see you shaking your head. You've read it. But it does show like, and it's from a perspective from a therapist. He got releases, was able to write about it, of the journey of this kid and being in therapy and what it was like, the ups and downs, the pain of it all, and the growth too.
Wow.
Yeah. More conversation would be good and needed.
Well, who else has one? Michelle, I'm gonna go on and fix it. It's on the back end, it says it's active, but it's not going through, so I'll fix it. LaTanya, you got any takeaways? Anthony? Shar? What do you guys think?
Actually, I have a question. Jessica, how do you deal with, or is it a common experience to have people subjugate their need for therapy because when they look at other people, they say, oh, my trauma is not that bad.
Yeah, I see that often, and it can be what keeps a person out. It can also be what shows up in the room of a dismissiveness of their own pain and experience that pain and trauma is still pain and trauma. And it gets internally then measured and compared, that even needs to be worked through. And so that's where I'll start with people. It's like, tell me about the dismissiveness. Where does that come from? Because my guess is it goes pretty far back. It's what's maybe it's been done to them, even of dismissing, that then is their internal voice that then is dismissing them own selves. And so that's the beginning of the conversation. But people, it can be something that holds people back to even step in the door. Sadly.
Right. Yeah. I'm guilty of that myself. Perspective's a wonderful thing, but sometimes I feel in myself that I apply it to the degree that, as you say, I'm not going to say self-harm, but I deny myself, because there's people that are starving. There's people that, there's always someone that's got a worse story. So why should you worry about your, I'm not going to say insignificant, but it's not insignificant because it's yours. But when you measure it against other people, it seems like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. That's really good, Anthony. I think
powerful.
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yes, I see it often.
That's good. LaTanya, we'll do LaTanya and Shar, and then we can wrap this thing up. What you got, LaTanya?
Sorry about that, Diana. I hit the end button instead of the unmute button.
That's okay.
My apologies. No, I will say it's definitely good to hear the perspective, particularly being someone that's in uniform. There is the consistent stigma that soldiers, particularly those of us that are senior leaders, that you don't seek that self-help. And I've recently, the separation from my family, being here, my family being in San Antonio, kind of getting into those really dark places in your head because of, you're accustomed to life one way, and now you've had to make this significant adjustment. And I finally, pushed myself to go and see a therapist on top of the journaling. And boy, I mean, the difference that it makes, that you don't realize it. And then also being able to self-identify and then identify some of the childhood traumas that you've experienced that are actually impacting how you're conducting yourself in adulthood, even with your personal relationships and your friendships with others. So very good to kind of hear it from a different perspective outside of the military community. So I definitely appreciate the time and the opportunity to be a part of this forum.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
you
you
for sharing that.
And thank you for serving too.
Yeah,
thank you.
for your service.
Thank you for your support.
You have anything to add to that, Jess? Or
I think loneliness is what I can see often with people in the military, and there's a community that gets created and established and can be like family within the military that is great support, but it is hard conversations with mental health in the military. Is this going to come back to bite me? Will my records be released? Will there be consequences to talking when I desperately need to talk? And so to say that on here is, I think, powerful, and I appreciate just the open honesty in that, to acknowledge like we need help and we need support, and there's some flaws in our system, whether it be military or culturally or even society around like men seeking mental health or comparison that we're talking about too, is to just break through those stigmas.
good.
So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. All right, Shar. We'll take Shar's.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Share.
Shar.
I always say Sharon. I say Sharon.
And Shar.
Yeah.
Shar and Shar.
Char.
We
And
call
then Brett, you
ourselves
raised your hand
we
too.
call ourselves twins because we confuse a lot of people.
Yeah, you're twins.
I just think it was a really good point talking about listening when you're talking to somebody who has gone through something, and then if you don't understand,
maybe bring in curiosity. I'm learning how to do that. My youngest daughter has attempted suicide twice, and she fights on almost a daily basis. She fights her brain. She has PTSD and borderline personality disorder. So no matter what I say, so many things don't come out right. And with borderline personality disorder as well, you know, you could say, how come you didn't put the cup in the dishwasher? And to her, she feels that she sucks and can't do anything right. I should just kill myself. So that's what we go through all the time. So for you to say, listen, and it's hard to understand, but to bring out the curiosity, and I'm getting better with the old me was not a good me. It was not good. I would just yell and not understand and everything else. And now I'm growing to have more patience and to listen, because yes, if you say the wrong things or you don't react properly, then they do not want to share, which is what I've gone through. Her second attempt, she was in a different province during the pandemic, and we weren't even allowed as Albertans to go to British Columbia, never mind going into a hospital. And she didn't want to even say anything to me, just because of situations. So it's good to know about the listening part and the curiosity and trying to understand, so that they will be more open with you and not kind of shut you out. So that's just been kind of a difficult situation. So thanks for kind of, you know, enlightening me with that and kind of reminding me that, yes, that is so important.
Really difficult situation where there's this push and pull at the same time. That often shows up with somebody that has borderline personality disorder. That can be hard to connect what to say, but sometimes even just acknowledging, I want to listen, I want to understand, I don't know how. Like you trying to figure that out and sort through that with her, I think is very beautiful. It's hard to.
And it causes stress, you know,
Sure.
in me and other people. As you know, I was a single parent for 14 years, so you kind of go through a lot of guilt and everything else. So things that I have to deal with myself and try and get over it.
Trauma.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Sharon. I mean, I know that you had shared a lot of that with us at the retreat too. So no, that's an ongoing, you know, ongoing challenge.
Ongoing, yep.
Will probably lifelong.
Yep. Well, wow, you guys.
Man, tonight was deep. I know a lot of you guys did too. Jessica, just thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, for you know, just being able to pour into us. I got a tremendous amount out of it. I was very much looking forward to this one, and I know a lot of the other people were as well. So just thank you for all you're doing.
And just
Thanks for having me.
Share, like, you know, because you also do you do on, like, people don't have to be in Kansas City to work with you. So could you just share how people could work with you, like what that looks like?
Yes. So I am licensed in Kansas and Missouri. And so I do in-person and telehealth. And I've also committed, and Diana and I have talked about this, of if you're looking for therapy and you're not in state, I will do what I can to help you find someone. And so offering free 20-30-minute phone consultations to one, to hear more of your story, what's going on, to fine tune of what you need and maybe even what you need within a therapist, and to give you resources of other people in your state that could be able to be that for you. Also, if you're just wanting to call and say, hey, I want to fine tune my goals. I have a little bit kind of fleshed out, but I want to flesh it out a little bit more, offering those pre 20-30-minute consultations.
Awesome. Yeah. And so how would people schedule one of those with you?
So it would be reaching out to me through Fortitude Counseling. My phone number is probably the best way to reach me. It's 913-333-8571.
Yeah, can we do that in the
Just
chat?
can you put it in chat real quick?
Yes.
Thank
do
you.
that.
And I can send that out when we send out the replay of this too.
So just give me a call. It goes directly to my line, and I will give you a call back within a day or so for us to be able to schedule a time to talk. And so then we would schedule what works best for both of our schedules. I typically work Monday through Thursday from 8 to usually about 4 each day. And so we find a time, make it work, and be able to fine tune, find support.
It's amazing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your time with us and your wisdom. And hold on guys, I'm checking to see if I fixed this or not.
Oh my gosh.
I may have fixed it.
My wife is ADD plus OCD, and so we have to get this done like ASAP,
No.
or I don't get
Didn't fix it. Didn't fix it yet.
It's almost my bedtime.
Well, this is my computer that we're on, so I can't actually get on the computer. But so yeah, thank you guys. I will send out a replay, and I will get that coupon code fixed for whoever wants to join us at the conference too. But thank you guys, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you and love you, and we'll see all of you soon.
We'll see you soon.
I don't know who this one is. Oh, here comes Brent.